Episode 101, Living in the Here and Now.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And we're back with episode 101, the first episode after the 100th episode, which we partied insanely to without any alcohol or drugs, simply because I was still on pain meds for the fucking teeth. So that being said, welcome to the whole new era of the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. As you can hear, I still sound kind of retarded because, my mouth still hurts for some unknown reason, but I'll be, better on Wednesday when I'm going to see the medicine man, who is then going to, look for what is wrong, hopefully. That being said, living in the here and now is one of the topics I think we have already addressed several times. And I wanted to go into a bit more detail about, how to increase really your perception and how to increase your chances of actually doing a better job of living in the present moment. So I put together a list of 7 rather simple things you can do. We'll get more complicated later on, I hope. And then we will go into further details and see the more complex techniques you can use to take even more advantage of the present moment. Well, not of the present. Well, you get the point, right? It's about getting there because the societal trend, the zeitgeist, is really to accelerate everything pretty much and to move it on into a direction where everything spins faster. And the Rona has kind of shown us that that is not entirely necessary, that we can pretty much live a bit of a life more on the brake pedal than on the accelerator. So we are in a time where we are bound to a little bit more to ourselves by being at home, by not having the ample offering of things to entertain ourselves. I know a lot of you are still out there frying their brains hours on end, watching television, binging Netflix or whatever your preferred service is. But those of you who are not really that much hooked on the brainwashing machine, you'll notice that you've been taking a step back, taking things a bit easier, reading a book or two instead of sitting in a cafe and enjoying life that way. I've heard both sides of the story. Those that have just used the available free time more productively by being at home. However, kind of taking advantage or taking the root of this advantage of the negative root. Sorry, got a bit out of control. I've been watching lots of TV and got to finally catch up on my ginormous Netflix watch list that stuff that I've always wanted to see. And then there are those who say, well, God damn it, I got to, increase my skill set by listening to a lot of podcasts or doing a training, an online training or whatever. And whatever suits your fancy, to say that it's negative to binge Netflix who am I? If that is your way of life, if you prefer that, go. It's your time that is, free and available to you now. So, who am I to say that it's negative? However, what I'm saying is that, you could be using the time to educate yourself, to, learn a new skill set, which, perhaps the economic implications that the outcome of the Rona will have, more undoubtedly than not, will prep you to be able to get into a new job, that perhaps the new economy that will result out of this, at least for the foreseeable future, will allow you to, get a new job. Getting a new skill set has several other advantages, amongst others, that your life will start to go a little bit slower, simply because you're jumping out of the routine, et cetera, et cetera. And so being aware and living in the present moment and enjoying this time is something a lot of us really don't take advantage of. So without further ado, the 7 steps to make it easier to live in the present moment, to be aware of the present moment, are select your thoughts, number 1. Number 2, be aware. Number 3 / number 2 and number 3 is observe what's around you. Number 4 is act freely. Number 5 is change your sanity, change your soul. Number 6 is remove expectations. And number 7 is to take control of your mind. So number 1, selecting the thoughts you are thinking. There are those of us, and I'm quite sure that either one or more people who tend to have a rather negative mindset. And it's very difficult to snap them out of it. But you can learn it. We actually made an episode about it. I forget which one it was, but it's living the existence without negativity. Negativity is, I think, what it was called, which aims at teaching you to reframe negative thoughts into positive ones. It's stupid song, always look on the bright side of life. That's kind of like what that's about. And through the awareness, through the de-stressing that is taking place right now, it's rather easy to be more aware of your surroundings, to increase awareness. And if you are aware of the thoughts that you're thinking, it's much easier than in a stressful situation to really raise the awareness and to come to realize the thoughts that you're thinking, and therefore come to realize that the thoughts you are thinking are negative. And that's important, right? A lot of us don't have that time, and therefore it's very difficult, or used to not have the time. Now we have the time. A lot of us do. And it's about really going into a direction. Sorry, that was my phone that landed on the table. So it's really about catching yourself and being aware that you're having negative thoughts. And that's the first step, because then you can proactively attack and say, okay, I'm having a negative thought. How do I reframe this to be positive? Right? So selecting your thoughts is a process. It's not that you can easily go ahead and say, that's a coffee machine. It's not, like you are in a stressful situation. You have a negative thought. You are aware of it. And it's the awareness part. And that's the journey I just mentioned. And that's why this time, I'm so grateful for this time, really, because it allows me to be in a situation where I'm not under constant fire. And, therefore allows me to kind of take a step back and look at the thoughts that I am thinking and then reframing them in a positive sense. Number 2 should have been number 1, but it is number 2 to be aware. And I'm not talking about the awareness that, your everyday life kind of has, that you don't get somebody to stab you in the back, but it's more about being aware of what's around you. It's about being aware of all of your senses of your surrounding. A lot of us walk through wherever with our headphones on, preferably through nature when somebody's on a run. They put on their big headphones and listen to motivating music and, that kind of thing. And without knowing that the chirping of the birds in the forest or, whatever silence you have there is actually similarly motivating if you are aware of it, and if you want to tune out entirely and focus on your sport, I think it's more important to take in your surrounding with all your senses. So, not wearing gloves because, it's maybe a little bit nippy. It's about feeling the temperature around you, in your face, on your hands, whatever body parts you can expose to the elements, depending on the environment that you're in. And, listen to, the noise that's in the forest or wherever you are, or wherever you do your sports. It's about seeing and actively looking around you, and taking in all the visual stimulants that are there, or the visual stimulation, more than the stimulants. And thereby, getting a totally new experience and tuning into what is actually around you. Same goes for the workplace. If you reach this level of getting there, you will be disturbed by nothing because you are aware of it and you don't perceive it as a disturbance. But we'll go into that in another episode. Number 3, observe what's around you. I think, I already mentioned that in parts in number 2, but let's go into the surroundings by, for instance, mentioning people who are around you. Take in their emotions, take in their gestures, take in their expressions, take in their actions, and be entirely aware of them. Take in their scents, take in what they smell like. And, if you focus on a person entirely, which we do seldomly enough, you get to know the person much more differently. And more importantly, you react differently to particularly stressful situations because you know the person better, you know how they react, you know what their intentions are. If somebody's throwing a fit and, for no obvious reason, there's a reason for them, and it's important to discover the reason, because asking them, hey, why are you throwing a fit, is kind of counterproductive, right? So, tuning into them entirely, and, that's what I meant with what's around you, is insanely important. Number 4, act freely. And, it's like, damn, I do. No, you don't. You've got so much societal pressure on you that you're anything but free. And of course, we live in a society, so we do have to kind of adhere to the rules. We agreed to it to a certain degree, at least. So until you start stepping on other people's feet, in a less literal sense, you're okay, right? If I'm not talking about that woke shit where I am offended by the fact that, That's a luxury problem, right? And I'm talking about where, you would infiltrate other people's private sphere and that kind of stuff. And other than that, as an example, when I started to notice that I wasn't really developing the way I wanted to in the financial sector, I started to grow long hair and just not give a fuck. I would immediately, after I noticed that, start tossing the monkey suit in favor of, a t-shirt under my sports coat and a jeans and my Doc Martens boots again, rather than, dressing up as someone that I'm not. I grew my hair because that, felt better to me. I started to grow a beard, which I hadn't until that point. And that was where I became much more convincing, because what I've been doing up until that point was hiding behind the monkey suit. It's like a thing of authority. People look at you because you're wearing a monkey suit. And it's like, yeah, you're being a monkey. You're not being yourself, essentially. You're dressing up. And as soon as I started to do my own thing, everything started to get better. I felt better, which I subconsciously portrayed to my surrounding, and so on and so forth. So a lot of interesting shit started to happen. But this acting freely has, a gazillion examples, right? But you have to analyze yourself and be aware of your surrounding. You have to be aware of your environment. You have to be aware of yourself and ask yourself the question, is that person who I am representing really me? Or am I playing a role to, impress other people? And the authenticity that you get by acting freely will have a large variety of positive rewards. Number 5 is to charge your soul, which is, remember that episode we made about, the weekend, right? Where you have people who work just to get to the weekend, to then insanely party until Monday morning and then go back to work. It's kind of about that, whatever charging your soul is, be it that you, need to treat yourself to a massage regularly, be it that you need to treat yourself to some kind of positive reinforcement of what you're doing, when you get tasks done or whatever. Be it that you take some downtime to read a book, be it your vacation, whatever the fuck it is, you have to identify that for yourself, right? Charging your soul, however, allows you to get to a relaxed and mentally stable state where you de-stress, where you take a step back, where you kind of tune out. And that's when you actually start to get the benefits. And that's when you are at a state where you automatically notice that you become more aware of your surrounding. And that's when things start to get interesting. So having regular retreats is insanely important. And that's what number 5 is really about more than anything else. Number 6 is to remove expectations. And, it's a bit misleading, right? So we have to differentiate. First of all, you have the expectations towards others, right? And there are those of us who get pissed off when their expectations aren't met. And many years ago, I've detached from that entirely, because, you get disappointed. It's inevitable, right? But if you still have expectations and you learn to deal with disappointments, it gets very interesting. You get to a point where, things just feel good, regardless of whether, the person that you're looking to see is there or not. It's about emphasizing on the actual anticipation of such a meeting or whatever it is, that feels good. And the ultimate reward is actually the seeing the person or whatever. But this looking forward period is actually what you emphasize on. And then you'll see that, the expectation part is just really, yeah, okay, fuck, didn't work out this time, will work out next time. Right? And second of all, we have the expectations towards ourselves. And that's where you have to be realistic. That's the most important thing. If you're always going to run or create your expectations to a level where you have to run 110% to achieve them, you're doing something wrong, because you need the downtime, you need to sleep, you need to rest, you need to recharge your batteries. So only set your expectations so high that you can realistically meet them for yourself. And if you, during the process of trying, notice that you've expected too much of yourself, take a step back. It's not that bad, right? You can always reiterate the challenges that you've set for yourself and the expectations you've set for yourself along the way. You're not a loser, right? It's planning. Shit happens. External influences you haven't thought of kick in. That's it. It's not bad. It's nothing that runs away from you, right? Last but not least is to control your mind, number 7. And that kind of goes back to number 1, where it's about mindset and it's about how you react to things that are thrown at you. And you can either, see whatever gets thrown at you as a problem, or you can perceive it as a challenge, right? We talked about that in the episode where I offered to take away all of your problems. And I delivered. Those of you who actually took that episode in are now at a stage where they accept challenges instead of having problems. And that being said, it's about being in control of your mind and not having your mind control you. It's the same thing with fear. 99.9% of the things that you fear will not happen. Right? So it's about a little bit about risk calculation. As soon as you're aware that, a lot of stuff that you think about won't ever happen, it's like, okay, I'm done. But that also means that, 99% of the things that you anticipate are not going to happen also involves that you're not going to be a billionaire. Probably. There's a very small likelihood that you're going to be one of the, 1,500 people of 7 or 8 billion that will actually end up having so much money that they can't spend it in their lifetime, right? And it's about, therefore, being realistic. I think that's what this number 7 should actually be. So, in that sense, I think we're gonna shut down now. We've already cracked the 20 minutes. I tried, seriously. So, if you know somebody that is, that is not aware enough of their surrounding or could use the contents of this episode, please share it with them. It's about spreading, this knowledge that I have ascertained over the past decades in my more than less turbulent life. If you think this episode was cool, the other 100 episodes are cool also. So I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this podcast on the website, www.theverybestpodcastintheworld.com. You've got, under every episode, the possibility to subscribe on pretty much every podcast platform that's out there. And in that sense, I hope you have a successful day in the present moment and enjoying that with your new learned skills. And or if you already had your successful day, I wish you a good night. And I'll see you again tomorrow, when we are going to speak about a topic which I haven't decided upon yet. So So stay tuned. Peace out. We'll be back tomorrow.